Here we go. Oh,
there we go. And we're live.
Hello.
We're live. It's Thursday again.
Thursday, the 23rd of July.
Already.
Schools are broken up.
Good for some.
Let's see if anybody's joining us.
Good for some, not good for others.
We have a very needy dog here, Simon. Little dog who's looking for food, aren't you? Yes, you are.
There's no food for you this evening.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Good evening.
Thursday evening.
Evening, Jude.
Not evening, Pam. All about Meet the Winemaker.
Meet the Winemaker. Here we go.
Another winemaker, which is very exciting.
So we got nice and sort of cleanly sort of dressed for the occasion.
Yeah, again, which is becoming a fairly standard outfit. Hi, Jane and Felicity.
Hi, Jane and Felicity. Nice to see you. Hope all is well down in the depths of Surrey, I think it is. Good evening, Luke.
Evening, Luke. And
evening, Simon.
Big waves and a pat for Finn. We'll give him a little pat for you.
Finn.
Let's pour a glass, shall we?
Let's pour a glass. Not before time.
So the Villa Wolf Pinot Gris is what we're going to be tasting first. So
evening, everybody. Welcome to Thursday evening lockdown live, 7 o'clock, with our wonderful, fabulous winemaker Ernst.
Indeed.
So anybody who doesn't know who we are yet, and I hope you should, because I think this is number 26.
Potentially, yeah.
Number 26 of these events that we've been doing since the beginning of lockdown. So anybody who's been with us since the beginning, you deserve a massive gold medal. Well done. Thank you very much for following us.
Coming your way one day soon.
Yeah.
I'm
Pam.
I'm Jude.
And this is Finn. Hello, Finn. Behaving himself at the moment. Cheers.
So this evening is all about Germany. Germany, a country where some people fear to tread these days with wine, but actually opening up more and more to the realization that actually German wines are fantastic.
I know, it's kind of interesting actually what's happening, because, you know, there's this massive appeal of German wines in the year 2020. And yet 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, there was this whole sort of perception of Germany produces mass production sweet wines that or sort of, you know, confected that people really didn't want to go near. And these days, in actual fact, they are rocketing through the roofs, aren't they?
Because stylistically the wines have changed.
They certainly have.
And which is why we love this particular winery, Villa Wolf, because all of their wines are fabulous. And we have been big advocates of the rosé since almost our very beginning, actually.
We have.
But just so I'll quickly pop up a picture of the 3 bottles that we're going to be
discussing,
tasting this evening. Let me just hit the right button. So we've got...
Do not feel compelled to open all 3 if you don't want to. That's okay.
The more the merrier.
Make your choice. Stick with it if you wish. However, they are all 3 sort of gems.
Very good. Yeah. So, hi, Michelle and Bob, by the way. They're halfway through their favourite bottle of wine already.
Well done.
Good on you. It is 7 o'clock after all. So, yes, from left to right, we have the Pinot Gris, then the Pinot Noir Rosé, and then the red Pinot Noir. Yeah. 3 stunningly good wines produced by a really fantastic winemaker, Ernst, who will be joining us in a wee while. But I was just going to chuck out a few little German facts. As you know, I like to.
Do it. Let's do it.
But I suppose, cheers, everybody.
We should say cheers. Cheers. Anybody who's broken up, well done. Anybody who's on holiday, even better.
Anybody who's back at work, never mind. So, yeah, Germany. Germany is probably best known for its white wines. Certainly not the rosé. Rosé is kind of really quite an unusual addition.
Yeah.
But it's about 2/3 white and 1/3 red.
Yeah.
And not looking at
didn't used to be though. Red wine has really come on big time, hasn't it?
As in, red wine used to be an even smaller proportion.
Yeah. And that's been driven by the German population, in actual fact, who were crying out for red wines. So it's only in the last sort of 10 years, I think, that red wine has established itself in a kind of like significant way. So you said it's like 1/3 1/3 of the total production of German wine now.
Indeed, yeah. Actually, and rosé doesn't feature in that, but rosé will be a minute little fraction there.
It will.
And actually something we can ask Ernst. And in fact...
Hi, Claire. Hi, Alice.
Hi. Once Ernst joins us, please feel free to put your questions, tap them out in the messages. If we can fit them in, we will ask him. And, any queries, any, interesting things you have to say, pop it on the comments and we'll try and include it.
Yeah.
So Riesling, we all know Riesling as a white grape variety.
Yep.
Massive in Germany.
Yep.
And Müller-Thurgau, which is also known as Rivanna, which I'm sure you can remember from last time we got the Pinot Gris out in these tastings. Those two grape varieties amount to 30% of all of the wine in Germany.
Yeah.
But then the red grape varieties, primarily Pinot Noir and a grape called Dornfelder. But then they have all sorts of others as well.
Yeah. But then maybe we should just hark back before the big man himself joins us about what was so successful. What were the most popular wines coming out of Germany in the 80s?
Well,
I know.
You know. Go on. Does anybody have any real heartfelt feelings about German wine that we're able to blow out of the water?
Yeah. Throw in a comment whenever you fancy. But in my dim, distant past, I was the brand manager for Blue Nun.
The one and only.
And yes, I know. Yes, I've come a long way since then. Thank goodness.
But still,
But on the other hand, it was hugely popular. Popular. And actually, unbelievably, they sell more Blue Nun today than they did back in the 80s. So there is still a massive market for that kind of style of wine.
Yeah, certainly sweeter wines, not a road we go down, but there is... Yeah, look at your Echo Falls, summer fruit wines and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's probably the younger people who are coming into the market, into the wine market, who are moving from their, the vodka Red Bulls into something slightly more sophisticated, but they want the sugar, they want the sugar kick.
Yeah,
and that's where these sweet wines actually sort of, they really draw attention.
But also that there was very little in between. There was no sort of subtle, elegant ripeness. It was kind of dead dry or sweet.
Yeah.
Whereas now, let's talk about this Pinot Gris for a moment.
Yeah.
This, a stunningly good wine, lovely and ripe. You don't need sweetness because it's got a lovely ripeness to it. So hopefully appealing to all palates. Hi, Emma and Pete and Tim and Jane and Martin. They're having a bit of a get together.
Welcome. I hope it's socially distanced. I do.
Well, I think with no further ado,
let's get the big man himself. He is here. He's waiting in the curtains.
Yeah, we should do a big,
waiting in the wings.
Big introduction here. So Ernst has won any number of awards, including some German Winemaker of the Year, White Wine Winemaker of the Year. We're really chuffed to have him to join us today, and especially because we're such big fans of these wines.
He is an internationally renowned guru of winemaking, and with no further ado, let's get him on. And also, I love him because he has fantastic hair.
Hi, Ernst.
Hi, folks. How you guys doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. No problem. Welcome, Ernst. Thank you very much for joining us.
You, yes.
And as I say, you do have fabulous hair.
Thanks for the invitation.
You're welcome.
So we've talked a lot about your wines over lockdown because we've been running these tastings for we've done about 26 of them now, and all three of the wines the Villa Wolf wines have featured throughout because we love them. But you didn't start out life as a winemaker, and we thought it'd be really interesting if you could just give us a little intro as to how you ended up in the wine industry.
Yeah, how does an archaeologist become a winemaker?
Very easy. I studied archaeology, and never had really the intention to take over the winery because, the generation conflict, I didn't come along with my dad very well, so I never thought that I can work with this old patriarch together, So I started archaeology, which was my passion, but then my dad became very sick and my mom phoned us all and said, look, somebody has to take over the winery. And then all my brothers and sisters were a Catholic family, the Catholics, they preach like rabbits. So 4 brothers, 2 sisters, and then all my brothers and sisters phoned me. You have to take the winery. You have to take the winery, because my mom said if nobody's taking the winery, he's going to sell it. And they said, no, you have to take it. You have to take it. With your stupid archaeology, there's only 2 options: getting a taxi driver or going social welfare. They said, you better take a winery. We're not going to support you. You would use this stupid thing you studied there, where you never get a job, So you see, you have to study archaeology to end up as a winemaker.
Simple.
Love it.
Very simple recipe. Study
Well, we're very
and,
glad you did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
So I get into the wine business then.
Mm-hmm. So you took over your family winery, which is the Dr. Lewson winery.
Yes.
And sorry, carry on.
The Wolf winery I took over later. So the winery, the Dr. Lewson winery, is 200 years in the family. So I took over 1988 the winery of my dad and my mom, and then 96, barely 8 years later, I got the great chance to take over an old, very nice old historic wine estate in the Pfalz region, in the Palatinate region on the Rhine River. And the reason was, here in the Mosel, our Dr. Lewson estate, since 200 years, we did only Riesling, and I never wanted to do anything else. It is like, going to Burgundy. It's Pinot Noir or Chardonnay, You're not growing Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, or Syrah and Burgundy, And the same thing I thought, the Mosel is Riesling. It shouldn't be anything else, But I love the Pinot varietals, and the Pinot varietals have a very long tradition on the Rhine River. I said, I'd rather go to an area which has a long-standing tradition for Pinot varietals, instead doing something stupid on the Mosel, where you don't have any tradition for these grape varieties. And so I found this wonderful, with the help, by the way, of an English wine journalist in these days. It was 96 that Stuart Piggott phoned me and said, look, you'd always have been looking for something in the Pfalz. I got this wonderful estate on the hand. I know these people you should meet. I think that is exactly what you're looking for. And that was the reason we have been going to the Pfalz to do we do Riesling. Riesling is still the major grape variety for Germany. But the Pfalz has over 1,000 years a tradition of doing Pinot varieties. Pinot Gris, Pinot Blanc, Pinot Noir, Silvaner is like, Silvaner is the Grüner Veltliner of Germany, It's the indigenous grape of Germany. You have Gewürztraminer, all the Rhine varietals as you find them in Alsace too,
Okay, Ernst, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second, and we're going to just pop up a map so that people know what we're talking about. And whilst we're popping that up, I have another question for you, actually, Ernst, because we know that the Villa Wolf winery was incredibly successful back in the sort of 1800s, but you didn't take it on until 1990. And I'd like to know, what was it, a ruin? Because I know it had fallen on bad times. Was it in a bad way?
What, the Villa Wolf?
Yes.
No. Villa Wolf is an old, beautiful estate built by Johann Ludwig Wolf in 1846. He was the richest guy in the whole area, and he always had a dream. He wanted to have a villa built in the North Italian Palladio style, And so he sent his architect on his cost for 2 years down to northern Italy to study the Northern Italian Palladio style architecture. So this guy came back and built him this fancy estate, which is beautiful. It's as I said, North Italian Palladio style. It's enormous, beautiful, villa, and very, very nice, And so from that point of view, no, that was never a ruin, It was bought by an investor in 96, but he was not interested in the wine estate. So I took over the wine estate, but the investor took over the front villa, this beautiful, villa. And since 96, we had been continuing this estate, and then had been but concentrating on the Pinot varietals. We do also Gewürztraminer. We do all these things,
Yeah. Okay.
So what you had was, I think, Pinot Noir Rosé and Pinot Gris and the Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. So we have
Pinot Noir here.
We have the map up at the moment. So can you see it, Ernst?
It's just Pfalz. You see, that's the green plot here on the map. It's just north of Alsace. If you go south, you're coming just straight to Strasbourg. It's only 1 hour to drive. So it's
Okay.
barely just north of Alsace on the German side. So that's the reason the tradition is totally the same. Food is the same. The wine, the grape varieties is the same. You know, it's very much the same. Alsace, sauerkraut, and a lot of pork as they do there.
Okay, and very bad croissants in Alsace. We always say croissants are really bad in Alsace. But for anybody, we often talk about Alsace as a fabulous destination for anybody who's interested in wine and also architecture. So if you go to Alsace, it's worth a trip to go an hour further on to go and see the Villa-Wolf estate.
The Pfalz, yeah. The Pfalz is beautiful. The Pfalz is called, you know what the name is of the Palatinate area, the Pfalz area in Germany? It's the Tuscany of Germany. It's Mediterranean climate. It's beautiful old villa style of houses. I mean, it's very, very fancy, this area. And nearly every village has now a Michelin star restaurant.
Is that right? Fantastic. And so at the Villa-Wolf winery, is there an opportunity to visit, stay, eat, drink?
Oh, yes. No, we don't have a restaurant there, but we have a Michelin star restaurant in the village. Very nice. But if you announce yourself, you always get a tasting. You know, that's not a problem. But we don't have B&B or a restaurant there. You know,
quite right.
Not yet.
Quite right. Keep them away.
Place to visit.
There's so many opportunities of great restaurants.
Yeah. So Ernst, do you want to just talk us through this Pinot Gris? So we opened this about 20 minutes ago, and as you can see, we've already hit a hole in it. And please do talk about it. I noticed there's a little spritz when you first open it.
Yes, a little bit.
Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
The spritz is only because we ferment all our wines, 100% healthy grapes. We don't allow any botrytis, and we ferment all our grapes, our juice, cold, you know, temperature controlled in stainless steel, very slow to get more fruit, you know. And so that is the reason that we don't touch them, you know. After fermentation, dry, they're all fermented dry. After fermentation, we just top it up, sulfur a little bit, and leave it on the fine yeast for another 5-6 months, you know, but we don't touch it, you know. So that means the natural CO2, which it's created by the fermentation, when the yeast ferment the sugar into alcohol, it produces CO2, you know, and that the natural CO2 from the fermentation, there's always a little bit left because the cellars are very cold, and a little bit of the CO2 is left. And if you bottle the wine, then you have always a little bit of the natural CO2, which gives this slightly spritz. But you know, we keep these wines only 12.5 alcohol. So it's beautiful summer drinking wine. It's a little bit refreshing, you know, this spritz. You know?
Yeah,
absolutely. We are massive fans as our customers.
I think we would. And just before you joined us, we were just saying, actually, this is our 26th. We've done 26 of these events since the lockdown. And at the very, very beginning of the UK lockdown, we showcased the Pinot Gris. And so we've got quite a lot of people who've been following this Pinot Gris for the last few months, because it became a bit of a sensation in actual fact, because, you know, German wines are very difficult to understand, and obviously the huge strides, huge steps in improving the marketing and the accessibility. And I love, and maybe you can talk about your labeling, because your labeling is so simple by comparison to a lot of German wines.
Yeah, if everyone takes a look at the back label,
simple for the people.
Yes,
it says only Pinot Gris 2018 Villa-Wolf. That's it.
Yes,
you know, you know. To keep it
and
as simple as possible. And the back label gives a little more information, because we have to go for the legal labeling, but we do all the legal stuff on the back label. But that the people can recognize it, Pinot Gris 2018 Villa-Wolf. We use not the German name. The German name would be Grauburgunder, but we use the French name Pinot Gris, or the Italian name would be Pinot Grigio. But it is, I don't want to take we would be allowed also to put Pinot Grigio on it. But
I don't think that would be a good idea.
No.
No, I don't like this idea. You know? And so, you know, on the other thing, what people don't know, Germany is not by far the largest Riesling producer in the world, by 50% of the world production of Riesling. Germany is also the largest Pinot Blanc producer in the world, the second largest Pinot Gris producer in the world, and the second largest, 2 years ago, still the second largest Pinot Noir producer in the world. I mean, but 2 years ago, the US took over because they have been sticking so much Pinot Noir into the ground since Sideways, the stupid movie. So that they took over Germany 2 years ago, being the second largest Pinot Noir producer. But still, Germany is, with Pinot Gris, largest Pinot Blanc producer, second largest Pinot Gris producer, and now third largest Pinot Noir producer in the world. People don't know it. They would never think that Germany is, I mean, so big in Pinot Noir, you know. And that's the reason we have a wonderful Pinot Noir and Pinot Noir Rosé. So because we have so much Pinot Noir grapes grown in Germany, that is very easy for us to do 100%, you know, Pinot Noir Rosé, you know.
So actually a really good move to the Pinot Noir Rosé, and I'll get everyone to open theirs and taste it now, because we've taken this to a lot of outdoor events for many years, and and we explain to people, we have a German rosé, which always raises an eyebrow, and you don't see a lot of German rosé, and I wonder, did Villa Wolf make rosé before you were there, or is this something that came as a result of your influence?
No, rosé, or they call it here in Germany Weissherbst, because it's a little bit different. In Germany, a rosé or Weissherbst, they call it here, has to be 100% made from the grapes, you know. So we are not allowed to add any red wine to it to color it, you know. So that is a little bit different with the law. But in Weissherbst was always popular, even already in the 70s, 80s, 90s. They had been not usually made from Pinot Noir. And it was, there's also an indigenous grape here in Germany, which is called Portuguesa. It's a red wine grape, very typical for Germany. And there was, I remember 70s and 80s, there was huge quantities of rosé produced from Portuguesa. So rosé was always popular here in Germany, but it never left Germany. But therefore, that Pinot Noir is so popular nowadays, you know, I mean, the Americans are going crazy about Pinot Noir, you know, and to make, and we have enough access. Usually, nobody wants to make a rosé from Pinot Noir because you make so much more money. If you bottle a Pinot Noir as a red wine, you can make 3 times more money as out of a rosé. So therefore, in Burgundy, nobody wants to do a rosé from Pinot Noir because they can sell it as a red wine much more expensive. But therefore, we have so much access.
Yeah, Ernst, rosé wine in the UK is going through the roof at the moment. Is it the same in Germany?
I was just in Frankfurt today with a very good customer, a very high-end supermarket. I mean, incredible wine selection. Oh my God, he said the rosé thing. Just since, I mean, in the US, it had been starting already 2-3 years ago. But Germany just started this year, more or less. But it's also going through the roof. I don't know what it is, but rosé, I mean, it's going crazy. And that's the reason
you do know what it is, because you crack the color instantly. The color is beautiful.
Yes.
So obviously, people buy with their eyes in the first instance. Tell us a little bit about how you make this wine.
So, well, I mean, as I said, we have enough access to Pinot Noir grapes. So that is the reason I said, look, I mean, it's very rare to have 100% Pinot Noir rosé. Usually it's from all kind of grape varieties, which you have huge access to. But 100% Pinot Noir rosé is quite very special. First, you know, if you smell it, it is very typical. The aroma structure of Pinot Noir rosé is this slightly strawberry character. That is so typical, strawberry for Pinot Noir rosé. So how are we doing it? We grow, and that is also the difference. Often the rosé is a side product of the red wine production by saignée, you know, by bleeding off or whatever. But we grow the grapes, because if you want to make red wine, you grow the grapes differently as if you want to make a white wine or rosé wine. With red wine, you go exposure to the sun, you know, leaf plucking, very low yield, you know, skin exposure to the sun. But we want to have a rosé should be a fresh wine, you know. We want to have some acidity here. So here we hang a little bit more fruit. We're shading that the acidity stays there. We don't do malolactic fermentation here, you know. And so here we want to have something fresh, you know, summer drinking. I think it's only 11.5 alcohol, light. something summer drinking wine. We don't want to have a 14% alcohol rosé. We want to have 11.5, 12% maximum. So, a summer quaffer, sitting on the barbie, friends are coming out of the ice bucket down.
Yeah.
I like your style, Ernst. I like your style. I think the way we've always positioned this Pinot Noir rosé for everybody who's listening is that it has an element of sweetness, but that that residual sugar, it just lifts the fruit. So it's not sweet as such. It's just very fruity.
It's German dry. It's dry, but it's German dry because Germany allows to have maximum 8 to 9 gram residual sweetness. It's allowed to be called dry. So this wine is on the upper border of German dry. So I think 8 gram residual sweetness. But therefore the acidity is a little bit higher. There's a little bit of residual sweetness. Is 8 gram, 8 gram, lifts, gives this kind of aromatic to the wine, and lifts it a little bit, gives it this kind of, refreshing character.
Yeah, and of course, in the UK, we love our Indian food and actually spicy food. This is one of those wines that goes particularly well with Indian curries or Thai curries or anything like that. Because it just cuts through the spice.
Exactly. The acidity, the fruit, works very well with spicy food.
Yeah.
Our best restaurant is crazy here in Bernkastel. We have so many restaurants here, 1 million visitors, and what is the best restaurant here in town? It's the Indian restaurant. And he's, I think, not even Indian, he's Pakistani. But he swears always, this rosé is fantastic, he says.
Yeah.
But and actually the Pinot Gris as well is a really nice accompaniment because it's got that lovely ripeness about it.
Yeah. Okay. And a question before we move on to the Pinot Noir. A question I think we've been talking about, because we've had a few winemakers join us, and they all have a different grape variety up their sleeve that they are experimenting with. A few weeks ago, we had Gary Jordan from Jordan Estate in South Africa, who is just planting the Assyrtiko, which is a Greek grape variety. In in other parts, they're doing Aglianico, which is totally not indigenous. Have you got something that you're working on?
Yes, we do. We do in the Pfalz, in Villa Wolf. We do quite successfully Sauvignon Blanc, in the Pfalz. It's really working very well, Sauvignon Blanc. And in the Mosel, I just started to plant a very old historic grape variety, because 200 years ago, the Mosel converted to Riesling. Now, since 200 years, we do Riesling in the Mosel. That is our grape variety. But in the middle of in the 17th century, and 16th century, the major grape variety here was Gelber Kleinberger, was it called?
Could you spell that, please?
Gelber Kleinberger.
Gelb means yellow, and Kleinberger, Kleinberger, Kleinberger. This was totally gone, and they found, I think 20 years ago, they found one plant, an old house plant in a very old house, and then they by gene analysis they found they could identify it again, this very old historic 300-400-year-old grape variety. They could identify it as Kleiner Gelberger, a Kleiner
Gelber Kleinberger.
And so there was a little a school, and who replanted it. And so I got 500 plants now, which I planted this year. And so I want to go up to 2,000-3,000 plants. Next year, I can take my own cuttings, But so I wanted to go, and there's another old historic grape variety, 300 years old. It's called Roter Riesling, the red Riesling, but it's rather like Pinot Gris. You can't make red wine out of it. It's like the Pinot Gris, you make a white wine out of it. So it's colored grapes, very old historic grape variety, and they made it in the mixed planting. They had this kind of field mix in the old days. And so what I'm doing now, I try to reconstruct a field mix in one vineyard with field mix of all the grape varieties they planted in these old days as field mix 350 years ago. So it will be an interesting experiment to produce a wine as Riesling, not Riesling, as wine from the Mosel was around in the middle of the 17th century.
Okay,
so I've got a question.
But in 3-4 years. In 4 or 5 years.
This Gilbert Kleinberger, what sort of a style of wine are we to expect from it? Something Riesling-esque?
Because there is no. It is a grape variety because in these days, it was the days of it was cooler, it was this cool time, in these days. And this Kleinberger worked very well in this days, So I expect it is a little bit bigger grapes, loose berries, It produced good sugars, I think 12.5 possibly as a dry wine. The acidity for dry wine is moderate, not too high, So we will see. I don't know. I never had it, So
interesting. Well, we look forward to that.
Okay, so
always a field mix.
Just to interrupt you, so anybody who's just joined us, this is Hannibal Brown Wines. We're talking to the fabulous Ernst Lucen, who's joined us from Germany. Thank you very much, Ernst. He's talking about field blends, and I just want to clarify what that means for anybody who doesn't realize it. Field blends in Germany, it really did. It was the case that there were a whole bunch of different grape varieties sitting in the same vineyard. So imagine you've got Sauvignon Blanc and Syrah and Cabernet Sauvignon, for example, to just get the idea, but crazy different grape varieties all clumped in together. This is what you're talking about, field blend, yeah?
Yes, exactly. And that was the standard wine, growing in medieval time. And
it doesn't make sense though, Ernst, it doesn't make sense because we all know that we all characterize Germans as being so direct. And there we have structure. And there we have this great melange of nonsense going on.
That was the standard wine growing all over Europe, the monovarietal wine growing is not very old. This tradition is maximum 200 years old. Also in France, in south of France, we all still know there's still the blend of different grape variety, And it's just in the north of Europe where the monovarietal starts, and north, like in Loire or, Burgundy, or here Germany, where it starts 200 years ago, where they find out, certain grape varieties did very well. For example, how they found out Pinot Gris, the old name of Pinot Gris in Germany is Ruhländer, And how it was discovered 200 years ago out of the field plant. The winemaker of the Bishop of Speyer, saw in this whole field plant that there was always grapes which turned color, white grapes which turned color, and had been always very sweet and very aromatic. So he always only picked these grapes and made a little barrel of wine out of the single, berry selection, And it became the favorite wine of the Bishop of Speyer, and he always said, "Bring me my favorite wine of my winemaker Ruland." And so the grape variety became Ruhlander,
So we have Germany to thank for the introduction of mass development of Pinot Grigio
as a single varietal. Yes, as a single varietal. Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. That is interesting.
Field mix.
That is hilarious.
Actually, just go back quickly to Villable present day and immediate future. So you're in the process of moving to fully certified organic farming at Villable, aren't you?
Yes. In next year we are certified. We are in the procedure. It takes 3 years. We are now 2 years behind. We have 2 years now done, and next year is the 3rd year, and I think middle of next year, end of next year, we get the full certification. Yeah.
And have you had to make many changes in the way you work to make that happen?
Well, we not really. We already did it for ourselves, But then we have a new vineyard manager and director down in the files, and he said, if we're doing it anyway, because I was never really keen. I mean, I don't need a fucking certification, you know, all these, you know, it's only bureaucracy. Oh my God, because when Germans something want to certify, now we just had the lady there. My God, I had to go out, you know, I left it to him, you know. I hate this whole bureaucracy, you know, we have enough bureaucracy, you know. If I want to go organic, I do it for myself, or not to satisfy some idiots of bureaucrats, you know. And so from that, but he wanted, I said, okay, if you do it, if you go through all the bureaucracy, I'm not doing it, you know. You can do it if you want to be certified, go for it, you know. But I think we do it for ourselves, you know. We do it for our vineyards, you know.
Yeah, and I think yeah, this is something that actually anybody who goes onto the Hannibal Brown website, if you go onto Hannibal Brown, you'll see the Villa Wolf wines, and it actually says, are they organic? And it says no. However, we already know that they work organically, and this is the case for the majority of the wines on our website, where they don't want to be bothered, or they don't even want to spend the ridiculous amount of money that it costs for that piece of paper.
So it's almost, we have an as good as category, don't we? As good as organic.
We should do, or we should just quote Ernst Lucen and say, "Fuck off! We're not buying that. We're not buying that." We know we're organic. Yeah. We quoted you here, Ernst.
We might paraphrase it slightly.
I just love it when somebody foreign uses a bad language.
It's usually Pam. It's usually Pam. In fairness, I don't think our viewers will be overly offended. Don't worry.
but joking aside, because we know that there's probably, I don't know, 10% of German wines are probably certified or working organically. But it's, I mean, it's so important. It's so important, isn't it? It's so important.
Well, I mean, you know, the first Demeter, you know, which is this biodynamic certification, which is called Demeter here, you know. Demeter, you know, I think there's definitely in Germany there have been the first Demeters already in the 60s, you know, because these guys, you know, that was all done by Rudolf Steiner, and their whole villages down in the south, which lives after the life of Rudolf Steiner. I mean, it's like a sect, you know. Sometimes it's a little bit weird, but well, you know.
But it does produce some great wines. It does produce some great wines and looks after the soil and the vineyards in the process. So
it gives us something to talk about at the end of the day.
yes, absolutely, you know. But I think as a responsible farmer, you know, you care for your soils, you care for your plants, you know, you try to do the best as possible, you know. And so from that point of view, everybody possibly has his own ideas. If you do it the biodynamic, you know, which, I mean, okay, you can. It's for me a little bit too geeky, you know. You have to believe in too many things, you know. I was brought up in a Catholic boarding school, you know, and to be frank, you know, that's enough in believing, you know.
But Ernst, you have long hair. You look geeky.
Yeah, it would suit you down to the ground.
Okay,
literally.
Right. Just to let everybody know, so these are three wines from the Villa Wolf Winery: the Pinot Gris, the Pinot Noir Rosé, and we're moving on to the Pinot Noir. They are all on the Hannibal Brown website, and they are all retailing around about the £12 mark. And I cannot begin to tell you what fantastic value they are. And I think one thing I was just going to ask Ernst, actually, what I love about these wines is that they're not expensive, but you get such brilliant purity, and people love it.
Yes. Well, I mean, that is for me very important. I think the major difference, you know, nowadays with global warming, everything gets warmer. You have also more the risk of botrytis, noble rot, you know, which makes definitely nice noble sweet wines, but I don't like it with my dry wines, you know. So what we do, and we take extremely care, I mean, during the harvest, to do 100% selective harvest. We don't allow any with our white wine, Pinot Gris, Pinot Blanc, you know, with our Pinot Noir Rosé, we don't allow another single berry of botrytis, you know, because we want the pureness of the ripe, healthy grapes. That is very, very important for us. And with Pinot Noir, anyway, Pinot Noir, you have to be very careful in the selection with Pinot Noir that you get only 100% healthy grapes, which are red, fully ripe. Otherwise, you don't get color, because botrytis. If you have too much botrytis in the Pinot Noir, grapes, it destroys the color. You never can make a red wine. Red wine is maximum deep rosé. So you have to be very careful. You have to select the botrytis out to make pure wines. And the Pinot Noir, it's the same. Here we grow the vineyards. Here we do more sun exposure, leaf plucking, lower yield, to get more phenolics, with the skin, riper tannins. And it is classic winemaking, open vat fermenters, cold maceration before we start the fermentation, of 10 to 12 days cold maceration on the skin, on the crush. And then we start the fermentation maximum up to 28 degrees Celsius. After the fermentation, we do a little bit of post maceration, not too much. Then we bleed it off, press it very gently. And then the juice, we settle it overnight. And then the juice is going 50% because, you said 12 pounds. It's a very, very interesting price point for Pinot Noir. We know
it's a Billy bargain. Yeah.
We can tell you we have a couple of guys who are definitely watching here. One of them is from New Zealand, and he always says that you have to stay away from cheaper end Pinot Noir because it's awful. But this is a total exception.
Well, it is. I mean, I think cheaper Pinot Noir, we have access to very good Pinot Noir, and the prices are very attractive as grapes, and so you can do wonderful Pinot Noirs here. Sure, it's a very attractive price, but not every Pinot Noir has to be $100 or £100,
Exactly.
Thank goodness.
Exactly. And I'm going to ask you a slightly controversial question, but how do you feel about chilling the Pinot Noir?
I personally chill all my red wines because
Good man.
I hate them if they're warm. This kind. I like them usually with 16 degrees. They warm up in the glass themselves. I rather go a little bit cooler into the glass, and if they sit in the glass and open up, they anyway warm up. But nowadays, if you go to Italian restaurants, they store the wine next to the oven. You get wines with 24, 25 degrees Celsius. Sorry, no, that I don't like it. Then I ask for ice bucket. I think all my red wines, even my Chateauneuf de Pape, whatever, my Pinot Noirs, even I like them around 15, 16 in the glass. Then I give it some air, that it can open, and then it warms up anyway to 16, 17.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I think I don't know what the weather is like with you today, but it's been very hot here in. Very warm, like 26, 27 degrees here. So the ambient temperature of anybody who's got Pinot Noir is probably a little bit too warm. And so if you've still got wine in your bottle, put it in the fridge even stick it in the freezer for 5 minutes. It'll do the job.
Yeah.
And it will be much more enjoyable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we all know this old saying, room temperature. Room temperature is from the very old days where the room had been only 17 degrees, 16, 17 degrees.
Yes, and thank goodness it's not the same now.
They didn't have central heating 150 years ago,
Yes, true.
So from what you've said, in actual fact, Ernst, everything you're doing is, how do you feel about the old climate change? We all associate Germany with freezing coldness.
Sure. We all face, the whole world is faced on climate change, global warming or whatever you want to call it, But in our case, to be frank, it's not allowed to say it, but as more northern Europe we go, as more we gain from global warming,
Yeah.
Because I still remember, I'm in the age, that I remember horrible vintages like 1980, 1978 here in Germany, 1974, 84, where you had ripeness level. The average ripeness level then here with our Riesling was something like 6 or 5 potential alcohol sugar ripeness and 20 gram acidity. I just opened 1980, 1980 Riesling, So it starts to get nice now. I mean, it's not a business to wait 40 years before the wine gets drinkable.
It takes some serious patience, which we don't have.
So just to explain that, just to explain what Ernst is saying for everybody who's listening. So if you've got a very, very cool climate, you are not going to produce sufficient sugar in the wine, or sugar in the grapes,
ripeness and sugar,
to produce enough alcohol. So this is what Ernst is saying, that you're only getting a potential of 5 or 6 degrees alcohol, which is like, well, there's no point really.
And then the acidity, it's that if anybody's bitten into an apple that is not ripe, they've just picked up the tree this size, then you understand the acidity, and it's not pleasant young. So
I have to just interact actually. Yes, I just have to make the point. Actually, we've got people listening here. Claire's listening from Wales, and unfortunately, it's winter in Wales today. So I'm really sorry about that, Claire. But that's probably the reason why there's very, very few wineries in Wales.
Thank goodness.
Although it is Welsh Wine Week next week. So we'll talk about that in a second. Ernst, it's been fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Is there anything else you want to send? Anything else you want to add to what you're doing?
A final pearl of wisdom.
I think the people should be more open and dry. I mean, Germany is famous for Riesling, but they should really go out and try the Pinot Gris and the Pinot Blancs and the Pinot Noirs from Germany. Even Gensis did a huge article last year, I think, or 2 years ago, and had been raving about the Pinot Noirs from Germany, And I think it was Feverley, this famous producer from Burgundy. He was asked in an article what he thinks is the biggest competition in the future for them. He didn't say New Zealand or California, so he said German Pinot Noirs.
Fantastic.
Go out and taste the wines, and enjoy them.
Okay,
thank you.
And just to point out, Ernst, and just to remember that England is on your tail.
Yeah, we're catching up very quickly.
We're catching up.
I know. Absolutely.
Ernst, listen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Yeah, really brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye
Take
now.
care. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, it's just us. I hope you enjoyed that, everybody.
Brilliant.
It was fabulous. I'll tell you what, I love his hair.
What a character. So interesting to hear someone who's so passionate and had such a long history in the wine industry. And he's clearly could talk about it all night. We didn't even need to be here, actually, in hindsight. But I hope that was interesting for everybody. And
please do look on the website. So we have the 3 Villa Wolf Pinot, the 3 Villa Wolf wines on the website at HannibalBrown.com. But we also have access to all of Ernst Lüsen's wines. So if you're interested, please drop us a line at HannibalBrown.com and we will bring them in for you, because that's what we do. We source wines from wherever we can get them from.
Indeed. So we can get some of his top-notch, super-duper Rieslings. I'm not sure we're going to go for the 1980.
No, we're not getting 1980.
We won't be getting that in, but just a real quick shout out for next week. So we're on a bit of a run of Meet the Winemakers, which is really fun.
Yeah, and I think also the nice thing about the Winemakers is that we could go on for hours and hours and hours. So actually, we have got another one next week, and the winemaker is joining us at 3:30 in the morning.
Fortunately, his time, because it's John Weeks from Australia, and these you're not going to be able to see the wines very well, unfortunately, because of the light. But these are the 2 wines we're doing. And these are fresh off the boat. We've only just popped them on the website, and we literally have a very, very minuscule amount of stock for now.
They are limited edition until we can get access to more of them.
Indeed. So it's almost like an introduction to the wines to see what you guys think. So the white is a Clare Valley Riesling. Stunning, lovely, dry, fresh. You'll love it. And the red is this big monster, and those of you who are really into red wines,
anybody who loves the big beasts,
this
is the one for you.
Big Barossa Cabernet Sauvignon. So we've now got them on the website.
And any guesses what ARB stands for? Send them through.
Tell you what, there's a major prize for that. So John Weeks, the winemaker, will be joining us in the middle of the night from Australia. And he's recently released a book about his life in the wine industry. He is one of the original flying winemakers. And you'll hear all about that when he's on. He's a really brilliant, entertaining character.
He's got bad language. He's got bad language
Yeah,
too.
you might have to
shut
cover your ears
yeah.
if you're delicate to the language. But they're two really stunning wines. And what we're also going to do is we're going to suggest tomorrow we're going to release the vague food types that will go well with these wines, and we're going to have a canapé competition. So the
competition
canapé,
time. Pay attention, everybody.
This is to win a copy of John Weeks' book, which is a really fabulous, brilliant insight into life as a flying winemaker, I guess. And what we want to see is your pictures of your canapés produced on the theme. Post them up once you've made them, and we'll sort of have a little competition, and whoever's we consider to be the best looking canapés and most appropriate on the theme will win a copy of his book. So worth it just for that. But I hope everyone enjoyed this evening. It's been a lot of fun. And yes, as Alice said, Aussie equals bad language. You're probably right.
Indeed it does. So tune in 7 o'clock next Thursday, not 3:30 a.m. Although, give him a break. He might be a little bit bleary-eyed, but
he probably won't be tasting with us, but he'll still have some great stories.
Probably will, actually. He's that kind of guy.
He's an old friend of Pam's as well, so there'll be a bit of. I'm sure you've got some.
And
stories.
it's not very often we talk about Australia, and I love talking about Australia.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's
all right, everyone.
It's a wrap.
Well, happy Thursday, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed the wines again.
Please keep sharing, share. We love having all you on here. We've gone to the website. We've got a schedule of events coming up, and just keep looking at them. All you have to do is just go onto the homepage and click on the bit where it's got a time or whatever.
You'll find it.
But that schedule is constantly changing, and we will be doing these throughout August.
Indeed,
and well, forever really.
And so Claire, for Welsh Wine Week, maybe we'll mention it again next week.
Hi,
I'm
Toby.
not sure we're going to bring anything in, but yes, all about get your canapes sorted. We'll let you know what the theme is,
and get ready for this boom Barossa.
Yeah, this is a really stunning couple of wines, and seriously worth getting stuck into.
And I have to just say, happy birthday, Bob. We both shared a birthday.
Indeed, yes.
Happy birthday,
cheers,
Bob.
and happy birthday to the Tuesday 21st birthday people. So
thanks for joining us,
cheers,
everyone,
and see you next week.
Cheerio. Bye.